Marianne, happy Monday. How are you doing?
Hello. Good. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for doing this sort of pop-up chat for Tabletop EDU. It's sort of a mini, it's Fellowship Monday. Let's call it Fellowship
Yeah,
Monday.
why not?
Yeah, at least our fellowship here of the two. Quick shout out to the whole community. I'm trying to do this at the top of all of the stuff we do. This whole thing, Tabletop EDU, all we do here is totally community funded. We don't
That's
have
right.
any big, we don't have any big outside grants. There's no big philanthropic donors yet. It's all from you guys, especially those of you who supported the Kickstarter and who continue to support the work there with the book and the courses, and who show up and just participate in the Discord. So thank you guys for doing this and making our work land and possible. So that being said, you're just back from the Serious Play Conference. Was it Duke, North Carolina?
Yeah, it was Duke in North Carolina. And gosh, that's a beautiful campus. And it was a great conference. And I'm super excited to have gone and to be back. I saw a bunch of members of our community, of our Discord community there. And that was really fun to see our Tabletop EDU gang. I actually traveled Foundry 10.
Yeah.
Paid for me to go, which is this great organization out on the West Coast that does research. And our friend of the group, Adam Davis, brought myself and Adam Watson to come talk about role-playing games in education, K-12. And so we had a great presentation called Plus One to Everything that was about how role-playing games can be used for social, emotional skills, academic skills, and other durable skills. So it was a good time.
Fantastic. Yeah, you guys did that panel, right? And yeah, shout out to Foundry 10 for just putting money out there and supporting people, to go to these conferences and educators. I've heard from some other people like, hey, I got a little mini scholarship to do this thing, or I got some money to do something from Foundry 10. So amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, they really seem to be invested in doing lots of different kinds of research. And one of those areas is about role-playing games and their use in education and in therapeutic spaces. So
Building
it's
on
pretty
some
rad
Adam Davis's work
for
there.
sure. Because he's over there at Foundry 10 now and really spearheading that whole project.
Yes. And so what do you think really landed with the audience with your panel? What was getting some, or what were you excited about with that came up in the course of that?
Yeah, Serious Play is a neat conference because it brings together people, all sorts of different people who are interested in games that teach or games that have meaning, right? And so there's K-12, there's higher education, there's sort of civic spaces, and there's definitely video games, corporate spaces. So there's a little bit of everyone there. So we tried to pitch the panel a little bit to mostly educators who were maybe role-playing game curious or were starting to implement it, but also to have it be a wide enough scope that people who didn't really know what role-playing games could do in a classroom setting would learn a little bit. So we talked about the DOTS framework that Adam Davis has that just sort of talks about how you can help people kind of move through different challenges, and got an overview of Adam Watson's work and what he saw happening in different classrooms in Kentucky and other places. And then I talked a little bit about Fiennes frame theory, my favorite thing, and how the different frames interact in a classroom setting to help make kids care about each other more. And the reason we pitched it that way is instead of just being like, here's a bunch of games you can use, we wanted people to be able to walk away with the structures and be able to talk a little bit to admins or other normies who might not know already kind of what role-playing games can do, and have more vocabulary and resources in their back pocket to support the work they're already doing or thinking about doing. So
Perfect. Yeah, that's really important. It's interesting how there's so many different spaces out there, and there's like this different readiness level
yeah,
of where, like, there's a lot of people who are like ready to go. Like, I want to run. There's a hunger out there. People are supportive, they've got different problems from those spaces where it's like, I'm excited about this. I know this works, but I've got some barriers, like you've described. Well, that's an interesting point you made about the conference. I'm not that, there's such an interesting landscape with kind of game-based conferences and play-based learning conferences. They're all a little different. They all had a little bit of a different edge. So it sounds like Serious Play. How much of it would you describe is like, I think a lot of it's kind of more, it comes out of video games.
There's definitely a strong video game component to it, right? It's more of this idea of how can we use all different kinds of games to make the world a better place. And a lot of that has to do with video games or maybe interactive games that are in a museum. There were game designers there that can do both kind of analog games, maybe more escape room games, and more digital based games as well. And so some of the, there were some things about analog games, some things that were definitely pitched towards educators, but then there were some that were more towards developers as well. Like, how do you do a good job when you've been asked to develop a game for something like a museum space?
Is this going to be something you go to again next year? Do you think it's sort of like a must go to for tabletop role play game educators? Where do you put it in the landscape of?
Yeah. So I would say that for someone who is just starting out, it might feel a little intense. I would recommend the game based education therapy conference at Origins, which is my conference that I help run. But also the reason for that, or what I would suggest if you're just starting out, to pick that one, or something that maybe even like PAX Unplugged, or something where there's a lot of games there to try out. If you're more game curious and just kind of not already in it, it might make sense to do something that has a big expo hall or more sort of entry level panels. Everyone who was there was already kind of in it, right? There's a lot of kind of preaching to the choir, I think, at Serious Play. But for those of us who are already really in it and thinking a lot about how we can use games for good in our settings, I think something like Serious Play is really great. And the word on the street is that it's going to be in Seattle next year in Wizards of the Coast's own backyard. So we're going to storm the castle.
Hey-o, that's what now we're getting down to it. Okay. Well, mark your calendars if you're in that cadre.
Yeah, next summer. I mean, I would like to go again. I am planning on going again, and it was a great time. So you'll see us there, and we can all be there together. But yeah, I think that there is a need for spaces for people who are just starting out. And there was a whole cohort of Washington State educators that came to Serious Play with Foundry 10. And I think a lot of them learned a lot, and I think some of them were kind of overwhelmed by just sort of the amount of learning there was. So it's okay to sort of pick your conferences wisely and just start easy.
Yeah, the other ones I have some curiosity about. The next one that I want to figure out is Meaningful Play, which is one this fall. It's around the same time, the week prior to Nasaga, where you and I will both be mid-October in Rochester. It looks like Chris Hopper is joining us. I'm going to let Chris in here. Hey, welcome. So we're talking about, and I think Chris was just at
I was. I'm sorry.
Hi,
the title is satisfying.
Hey, Chris Hopper.
Do you know Marianne?
Yeah. I haven't seen you in years.
Oh, you guys know each other.
Hi.
It's good to see you again.
Yeah, you too. It's nice to see your face.
Likewise.
Chris and I got to play some Business Wizards the other day.
That's very cool.
Which was yeah. Chris played a part siren. I'm trying to remember your character. A part siren cutthroat business wizard, and we saved the school from the beholder. So that was
awesome.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So y'all were debriefing. I didn't realize quite what I was jumping into. I thought I was spectating
Oh, you're
here.
fine.
So y'all were debriefing.
We're just chatting,
Yeah,
and I was just at Serious Play with Adam Davis and Adam Watson.
I want to hear a lot more about Serious Play. That's why I slid in. It kills me that I wasn't there this year. A handful of folks that I met at Gen Con were heading straight there.
Yeah,
I was like, man, just put me in the luggage.
they look tired.
I mean, Gen Con was a lot.
Yeah, one of these years I'll get out to Gen Con, but it feels like a lot, especially because we go to Origins. So it's like a lot in a row.
I mean, I don't go to the best part of Gen Con. You just talk to Steph about Trade Day. The Wednesday before Gen Con is where all the smart stuff happens. I just go and sling product for Brotherwise, and shake the hands of all the wonderful people who are trying to pay me to do more. So yeah.
Yes. Well, there's that too. That's always good. Yeah, Serious Play was great. It was at Duke. I don't know if either of you have ever been to Duke before, but it's like everything is a castle.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
It's like a Gothic campus, and with this like incredible cathedral. And I'm sure somebody could correct me a little bit on what the actual name of the architecture was. But if you like imagine a castle in your mind, that's what it looks like there. And we were in the engineering department, and it was a lovely place, and everybody was really great, and it was really nice to see old friends and make new friends and talk about games.
No, it seemed like it was a little bit of more of a party scene than some of the ones that more academic conferences that have happened to play. And it just made me really happy to see you guys, like there were photos of you guys getting together, and there was some like after hour stuff and some gaming. And yeah, I was like, I want to say half a dozen, but probably more than that of people from the channel who got together. And this is like the difference between showing up to a conference or an event kind of solo or with somebody from work to like, oh, I'm meeting all these people that I know or I've played a little bit with or I've connected with elsewhere. It's just such a different feeling. So really kind of like nails the whole like fellowship idea.
For sure.
So that just makes
I think some of when you go to a conference like this, there's a part of it that's really about all the hallway conversations, figuring out how people can work together in other spaces or at different times. So that was certainly a big part of it. I know, Chris, has that been your experience as well?
That's been my experience with South by, certainly. I have not gotten to enough. I haven't gotten to enough academic conferences lately. The game design conference, the game conferences lately I've been running at because I've got stuff going that requires me to be a better GM a lot, and so I'm trying to brush up on those game mastering skills. And so it's it's at South by EDU and at parts of Gen Con, certainly. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's, the piece of it that is really important is it's really easy to feel shy. Right? Because everyone has all this amazing stuff that they're doing and all these great connections, and it feels like everyone already knows each other, but it's sort of pushing through being shy and introducing yourself to other people and just kind of finding out what other people are up to and finding there's a lot of connections between people is really awesome.
Marianne, let me ask you this before we leave Serious Play behind. Was there another like session or two that stuck in your mind that you're like, oh, this is really interesting. I want to do something with this. You sent me some screenshots of one. It was like future selves. I did some research on like potential future selves, something like that.
Yeah, I think that was the one that was about. Gosh, I can't exactly remember. There was a lot in a short amount of time, but I think there just is a lot of research about how you have to be able to imagine yourself in a position before you can do that thing, and so how these were video games, I think, but the idea of role playing yourself in a future career or being successful in a future way is a way that you can start to prepare yourself to do that thing. But
so relevant, to my 7th grade self, who was so interested in becoming a spell sword, multi-class barbarian. And here I am, so no, jokes aside, but no, it's really powerful stuff for role play games, and what we think about applied role play games and all these scenarios, especially with young people and exploring professions and careers and kind of making things more grounded for like scenario based learning or what narrative based learning.
I think, there's a lot of preaching to the choir at places like this, as I said before, but I think the session that I went to that sort of challenged me and made me interested in thinking a lot more about it the most was a session by Megan Cannell and Amelia Herbst that was about how scientists need more storytelling in that we are losing the information war because we've sort of policed ourselves into the corner of telling the story really, really badly. That, and that has been my experience as an academic writer, is that when you're getting peer reviewed, reviewer two always hates your work. And sometimes I'll get a lot of, well, this isn't written academically enough. And so I push back and say, well, that's really a style decision that will be made by the editor, is what I have been learned to say. But that, as a teacher, right, that is my primary. I feel that very strongly. I want people to be able to read it and understand it. If we make it so only people who are already academics can understand the work, then what is the point of the work? And so it was really about how can we continue to do research and think about things and tell it to people in a way that will make it compelling to people who don't already know.
Yeah. Oh, it's a powerful message. I mean, this is how I see a lot of one vein of the work we do at TabletopEDU is taking a lot of this academic work and research and trying to make it more actionable, by practitioners and sometimes translating it. But what you're describing is saying researchers and scholars need to do a better job from the beginning of doing that work, and not just talking to themselves.
Right. And not policing themselves into only talking to themselves. Right, policing each other.
That's as somebody outside academia,
Well, and that's, I feel very strongly, the article that I wrote that I was talking about at the conference, some pushback I got before I wrote it was that it didn't include enough information about what game researchers were doing. And I was like, I'm going to have to be totally frank. None of the teachers I interviewed knew anything about games research. They were all using role-playing games because of the experiences they had had as children, and then sort of mapping that onto what they know is good for kids. None of it was because they read about like ludic theory. You know what I mean? Like, and so that's a huge problem, right? If we know games are good for kids, and that's very clear, then how can we help people understand that? And my favorite other guy that I don't get to talk about with you ever, Garrett, is Ron Heifetz, who wrote a book called Adaptive Leadership. And it's about this idea that like we can make tweaks to what we're already doing to make the process better and make small improvements, or sometimes we just have to throw the whole thing out and start over and think about it completely differently. And if that's what we're asking people to do, then we have to speak their language. So instead of being upset that people aren't reading our academic articles and then changing all of their stuff, we need to be able to tell people things in the way that they understand, in terms that they understand them. Right? I mean, that's on us if we're asking people to make a change. So it was very interesting to hear that panel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what good teachers do. Great teachers do. They meet learners where they're at. Where are we at? Just because you were handed, a certain set of standards and outcomes and materials, and it's presented at a certain level, readiness level, doesn't mean that's where all your students are, and it never is that way. Same with good GMs. You a lot of times you come with a story or a module in mind, and you've spent a lot of time getting really attached and developing, lore and NPCs and all this stuff. And it very rarely, none of that, so much of it is like, let's make it player driven. You know and this is what like Lazy GM. What's his name over at Lazy GM?
Sly Flourish.
Sly Flores, yeah. I mean, his system is so great because he speaks to that. Like, think about what's happening at the next session. You know, back up a little bit. What do you think your players? What do they need to do? What can you present that they might be doing? And so, it's been so cool to me about TTRPGs as a pedagogy, is that it kind of forces you to run things, if you run it well, that is responding to where the players are and where the learners are. So yeah, I'm just agreeing with you. You know, it seems to me like it encapsulates elements of adaptive leadership?
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
So shout out to Lead RPG. Like, if you want to be a great leader, run a TTRPG. That's what I have to say. I'm getting all wound up now. So yeah, we've got a lot of stuff. I want to make a couple little announcements and get your guys' reaction. And I want to talk about the next month or two, and then we'll sign off for this little Monday Madness moment. But first up is this Friday, Marianne will be hosting Fellowship Friday with Peter Young.
Yeah, it'll be the dinner time episode. It's those West Coasters.
Yes, and then Katie Lear is coming in the 21st, the next week after that, and you'll also be hosting.
Yeah, and they're both great. And then you'll never see me again because I'll be back at school, so I'll pop in when I can. But most Fellowship Fridays are while I'm working my day job.
And thank you again for picking up some of these.
Oh, it's so fun. I wish I could do it all the time, but.
Well, we can adjust. You know, we can find a time slot.
But I also really love being with the kids. So.
Yeah. And then to wrap up, we're calling season 1 of Fellowship Fridays, the end of August. Our finale is with the creators of Adventure Land of M, Ben Costa and James Park. And this game has won a ton of awards this year, including the Calliope Award at Origins, which is essentially the tabletop role-playing game of the year. Did you know, Marianne, that award's called Calliope?
Pretty good.
Calliope Award?
Well, that makes sense. I mean, because, right, Calliope is a muse, and I am just but her shadow.
Calliope's your gaming tag very often.
Yeah.
So that's a little inside baseball. So that's for Fellowship Friday. And then just a little sneak peek at what we have in store for you in September. We'll be ramping up the promo for Adventures in the Stacks, our library-focused crowdfunded book. And we will be having, we'll be talking about Polymorph, and we're going to have a beta version of a micro TTRPG we built using Polymorph, which will be used in Adventures in the Stacks. And so there'll be 4 classes like there are in all the Polymorph games. And these are focused on information literacy rich professions, but it kind of makes them heroic. So the professions are the investigator or the detective, and the archaeologist, and the naturalist. And boy, and the 4th one is the journalist. And so all 4 of these folks are doing this sort of information rich kind of source mining, corroboration work. And you get to choose which of those characters you play. And so we're going to be running a little competition for people to either design a module for that polymorph system, which will be in Stacks, or come up with your own little polymorph system for teaching and learning. So we're going to be running that this fall. And the other announcement is, speaking of polymorph, we're going to be doing more polymorph in the channel, including Business Wizards, Nancy Druid, and Mount Olympus Community College, which I'm very excited to be running here in the next couple of weeks. But we're having the creator of the polymorph system on Fellowship Friday in September. So not exactly sure the date yet, but Chris O'Neill of 9th Level Games will be coming on and talking about polymorph. And so we're very delighted to be having Chris O'Neill come in September. So that's a little look ahead. What do you guys think? What do you guys have to say?
Exciting.
It is exciting. Comic-Con New Hampshire which I know is almost as that exciting, is Granite State Comic Con is coming up in September. So I'm going to get to see Bug, who also works at Ninth Level Games and did a lot of writing for Kobolds Ate My Baby. So I'm really
It was huge.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't realize that game is everywhere. Everybody.
Yes, which is really exciting. And those the Ninth Level Game people are so great and very kind. And Polymorph's fun. I'm going to think of something to write for the contest. Am I allowed to win? I don't think so. But we're going to write something, and you have to do better than me.
And you're gonna come play with us one of these.
I definitely want to.
What was it? Sentai and Sensibility?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to play.
Yeah, that's the one I want to run.
Bug wrote that too. Bug's the best. So,
the Power Ranger stuff is just such a riot. Like,
yeah, it mixed in with Jane Austen. It's very good. But yeah, I totally, yes, of course, I want you to run it. I want to play for you. That'll be so fun.
I'm gonna run Plot Weaver here in the next couple of months. I think we're aiming end of September on our server. They're releasing alphas of all of these different worlds, and so we get to right now they're playtesting Kenishaw's. I think I'm not sure whose the next one is, but they're running month-long playtests, and so I'm gonna bring in one of those playtest materials to see how this system. I don't know if anyone on the server has played Cosmere before, but the Plot Weaver, how the system drops on different settings, so contemporary settings, horror settings, things like that. It's I'm looking forward to it. I deeply enjoy the system, and so I'm excited to see what other folks are doing with it, and excited to debrief about what we might do with it, and what folks in classroom settings and club settings might find beneficial with it, because of the second axis on it. It's interesting. There's some neat mechanics to pull apart.
Well, I think that's so important. You know, we all are doing so much with role-playing games in different ways in our settings all the time, but I've been recently reminded just how important it is to sit down and actually play together sometimes.
Yeah, that too.
Even if it's for a purpose, it's really awesome to just have some time together.
And Chris, you're going to run some Cosmere in our Discord, right? In
TabletopEDU Discord sometime in the next month. I was in chat trying to figure out dates. I think I had dropped like an early September date, maybe. But
yes,
yeah,
I'll put that as a sign up form in our newsletter and blast out, so we'll get
and it's an open offer. I'm going to be getting I'm on the playtest team, so I get new materials all the time.
I totally want to play. That would be so fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything else we should talk about before we say salut?
Just go play games, man. I want to play with you guys. I want to play with everybody. So let's do it.
Yeah. I'll just say, like, with Polymorph, one more time, like, I have been such a D&D guy and Pathfinder. Those are my two jams. We switched to Pathfinder in college when fourth edition came out, like all the old 3.5 people. And I played that. I played Little White Wolf, played Little Vampire, but largely I've been a D&D Pathfinder guy. Polymorph has me rethinking everything, and I think it is such an excellent fit for libraries and school clubs and this sort of thing, because you can pick it up and play it so quick. It's easy to learn how to facilitate. It's quick to learn how to play, and so one of the challenges we have in these spaces are kind of inconsistent people showing up. So so it's really good for one shots or small campaigns. It's also friendly for new people playing it. And the other thing is, like, it puts the story so much more center. It puts role play so much more center, and less of the kind of rules lawyer, like kind of going through the book. That being said, like, all the textbooks that you get with Pathfinder and D&D are one of the reasons I think it helps kids who play that, or people who play that a lot, develop a good information literacy, because they're navigating all this complexity. And so because the rules apply, not just to riff entirely, But anyway, I have been surprised by going out of my comfort bubble and trying these new things, but how delighted I am with it. So I think it's a great gateway drug.
Yeah, for sure. And whatever gets people in,
Yeah.
But people play for different reasons as well. And so if you can get people in there and role playing, that's a great way to just get a lot of people who wouldn't have thought of themselves as role players started.
I think that the polymorph system's got like just the right degree of chaos to pull people in like that. I thoroughly enjoyed that. The level of play in a complex system, or maybe in a broad system is a better term. In a broad system, I think that's the prep is just a different form of play. I think that there are people for whom getting lost in the character creation for 6 to 8 hours is just the same as on, any certain video game franchises. And I think that it's exciting to me to see how different groups engage in different ways. I think that as educators in y'all's cases and as facilitator in my case, that's one of those things that I feed on is what game are you playing and what part of it is feeding your energy into wanting to play it more.
Oh, that's so well put.
Can't say it better than that.
Well, I mean, this is what I'd say as a GM, having now been prepping and running a little polymorph. It scratches all the itches I've ever, I needed. And I get to date. What I do is I daydream it about all week. And I've got, docs and I'm thinking about it. I'm running little scenarios. Hasn't in any way been cheapened by moving from a rules heavy system to a rules light system. So I still get a lot of that thing that I really love about it, and also just the joy of kind of telling a story and getting ready for a production and all this. But that's an interesting point you make about what are the characters? Do they get that same kind of like, I get to go and tinker with this and build out this huge, crunchy character versus polymorph? You can just show up if you want to just show up, so maybe that's a loss in some cases.
I don't know. I had a blast making mine.
Yeah. It's, and the thing is like, it's never like you have to choose, right? It's always like, yes. And it's always, here's another option. And there's a situation and there's a player, as you said, where this is really going to land. So yeah. Wonderful. Anything else people want to discuss or share?
I think that catches me up to speed. Now I'm just home. I've been home for 24 hours and catching up on all my mom stuff and, getting ready to play some personal games and do some good work. I'm working on a literature review of all of the published K-12 case studies of using role-playing games in classrooms. So if anybody has any of those they want to send my way. Yes, spoiler alert, there aren't as many as you'd hope. So, yeah. But we've been pouring through a lot, and I think we've gotten a good cohort, about 30, that we can make some. We're going to read through now and make some decisions. So hopefully sometime next year I'll have that published for you. So help everybody out so then they don't have to look for 30 different case studies of role-playing games in K-12 classrooms. So
that's going to be well cited. Yeah, that's going to be well cited.
And I'm writing a chapter for Susan Harmon and for one of her books about using writing, role-playing games with writing. And that's what I'm working on. What are you working on, Chris? Anything fun? You want to share?
All of everyone at Brotherwise is getting ready for the Mistborn release next month, and that's hype. We just got to run a bunch of the adventures at Gen Con. I also my Beetle and Grim work is out, and so that's in the wild now, and I'm breathing a little easier because it exists and it's a thing that I made. And but I'm mostly here, like I said, learning about GMing a little bit more as I angled toward some applied GMing myself. I'm working with a partner to develop some professional options and to develop a little bit more of a intentional approach, like what we do in the classroom. And so figuring out which levers to pull there.
Well, sounds good.
Yeah.
We got lots of stuff coming up with Stacks.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, tons coming. I got to get that. I have a chapter for Susan Harmon as well. I think that's the deadline for that.
It's in September. Yep.
Ooh, take that outline to the next level. And then I have a chapter coming out which had an R&R, and I've done just submitted that last weekend in an academic book called From Syllabus to Studio, and so that's about kind of for game designers, game design students, which is fun, talking about designing educational analog games. But yeah, other than that, those are my two pieces. That and then of course the Stacks book. And then I'm sitting on I think I was telling you this, Marianne. I have a paper I want to publish when I get a little time, which is about romance in Baldur's Gate 3, and it's sort of like looking at Lae'zel, the relationship between Lae'zel as kind of an other character, an inhuman character, and the Dark Urge, or the protagonist, which is an interesting one. There's been this interest in romantasy and sort of like all this sort of new literature, this genre, and they're human and other creatures kind of beginning these relationships. And so I want to write.
No one is allowed to talk to me about this until we all decide together that we're going to go watch the Wicker movie.
Oh no, I've heard about this.
Google it.
I've heard about this. Yeah, let's pin that for a later fellowship Friday.
You do not know. I can see.
I'm reading now on my face. I'm failing to face hack while I read here. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's good to see you guys.
Good to see you. Thanks for popping in, and we'll see you guys Friday.
Sounds good.